I mean, if you guys know me fairly well, then you know that like this one is about the same as getting to do Winter Soldier for the MCU marathon review, but luckily I didn't have to wait nearly as long this time. So let's get into this. Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. Not Episode 5 though, because it wasn't Episode 5 yet. Just Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. We just take a second to like talk about how long it's been since I reviewed A New Hope. It's been a year. Just about everything about my channel has changed since then. I had like 11 subscribers and now I've got 2,400. So, man, moments like this just humble you right on up, I guess. Anyway, the plot of the movie is that it's been 3 years since A New Hope, and the Empire is looking quite vigilantly for Luke Skywalker and the rest of the rebels because they're a little bit upset that their, prized possession, their Death Star, got blown up. Which, I mean, it's a little bit of a lack of continuity when 40 years later the Starkiller base gets blown up and nobody cares. But we haven't gotten there yet. But they are currently hiding out on Echo Base, located on the ice planet of Hoth. And during a little bit of a recon mission to make sure that the probe drones that the Empire is sending out to find Luke don't actually find Luke, Luke gets slapped in the face by a Tauntaun and stuck up on the ceiling. And he's like, oh snap, I gotta use the Force to get my lightsaber. Zoop! And then he cuts himself free and he cuts the arm of the Tauntaun. Did I say he got slapped by a Tauntaun? He got slapped by a Wampa. He was riding a Tauntaun. Who's seen Star Wars before? I know I have. But he escapes and he's like, well, I'm about to freeze to death. But before he passes out, he sees a vision of Obi-Wan telling him that he needs to go to the swamp planet of Dagobah to train with Jedi Master Yoda, the Jedi that trained him. Except, no he didn't. Qui-Gon trained him. Well, maybe Yoda finished his training after Qui-Gon died, because Obi-Wan was still a Padawan when his master was killed. Possibly. But at the same time, Han Solo's like, Skywalker's been gone for a while, so I'm gonna go find him. And he finds him, and he's like, oh, he's about to freeze to death. So he cuts a hole open in this Tauntaun, and he shoves him in there for warmth so that he doesn't die, because the Tauntaun froze to death already. And he's like, oh, these things smell bad on the outside. Am I getting too far into detail? Let's move a little quicker. Shortly thereafter, though, the Empire learns that the rebels are on Echo Base, and they show up with a bunch of walkers that are very far away from the base, largely because they don't know where the base is. And it's like, they'll just walk that way and they'll find it. And pretty much everybody's there, up to and including Darth Vader, because Vader is on a mission from Emperor Palpatine to find Luke Skywalker and bring him to the Empire, and maybe they can convert him to the dark side. That's what they hope they can do. But our whole cast of heroes escape, and Luke is like, hey guys, I gotta go to this planet so I can train. I'm gonna peel out. I'll see you guys in a couple of months. And the other good guys, Han, Leia, Chewie, R2. Well, no, R2 goes with Luke, so C-3PO is like, alright, we'll see you. Take care, good luck. We're gonna head on out of here and see if we can keep dodging the Empire for all this time. And they have some adventures on the way to where they're going. I mean, they end up inside of a monster and they have to escape. But they decide, hey, Han knows this guy named Lando. He's kind of low profile as far as the galaxy is concerned. Maybe we could just go to Cloud City, chill out with Lando Calrissian, and we'll wait this whole thing out. The Empire won't find us if we stay hidden. So it's like, we'll just chill here for a while, and then we'll move on. And then Luke gets to Dagobah, and it's like, hey, where's this Yoda dude I've been looking for? And then Yoda's like, oh, found him, you have. And so he does this the whole movie. And then he trains him in the arts of doing backflips and swinging on vines and stuff, and then doing some handstand force levitation. I mean, I'm pretty sure it would help to be physically adept if you're going to be a Jedi, because Jedi have to fight. So I don't really blame that. My only question is, how long was he actually training? But anyway, he gets pretty decent with the Force, and eventually it's time for him to go face his fears in this cave. And he's like, Luke's like, what's in there? And Yoda's like, only what you take with you. And he tells him he doesn't need his weapons, but he brings his weapons anyway, which is a sign of his mentality at that point. He's still seeking out conflict instead of just being prepared for it, which is something that a Jedi is never supposed to do. A Jedi doesn't use the Force to attack, only to defend. That's kind of the message of being a Jedi. But he walks into the cave and he's like, you know what, I'm ready for anything. And then here comes Darth Vader and he's like, well, I wasn't ready for this. So they fight, he cuts Vader's head off, the helmet opens up, and it's Luke's face, kind of a sign of what's about to come, later in the movie. But at the same time, Han and Leia and the rest of them are headed to Bespin, but at the same time, Darth Vader has sent out a bunch of bounty hunters looking for them. You know, IG-88, Bosk, but you know, there's also your main boy, Boba Fett, one of my favorite Star Wars characters, because he's only over there. But yeah, Boba Fett just so happens to be the one that finds him. Figures out where he's headed. He's like, he's going to Bespin. So the Empire gets there first, strikes a deal with Lando, like, hey, the rebels are gonna get here pretty soon. Just hand them over to us. You'll be fine. We won't, you know, kill you. So of course, when the rebels arrive, Lando acts like everything's all fine and dandy. But then the turns table. I meant, you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say. There's a pretty much everybody wins deal where Vader can test this experimental technology where they freeze someone in carbonite to transport them and they won't struggle. He wants to use it on Luke Skywalker, but he's not sure if it'll kill him or not. So he's like, you know what, I'll test it on Han Solo because, I mean, he's got a bounty anyway. Boba Fett's like, well, I mean, he's my prize. I mean, what if he doesn't survive? And he's like, no, don't worry, I'll compensate you. So everybody kind of wins except for, well, I guess the good guys. But on Dagobah, Luke has a vision of his friends being in peril, and he's like, well, I have to go help them. And Yoda's like, if you leave now, your friends will be doomed. You won't make anything better. In fact, you'll only make things worse. And the Force Ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up and is like, yo, yeah, what are you doing? Stay here and train. Everything will be fine. And he's like, well, my friends need me. So he goes to Dagobah, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to duel Darth Vader. That goes extraordinarily well. You won't believe how well that goes. He gets his ass kicked royally, and it's pretty funny because Vader's pretty much toying with him the whole fight. Gets a little serious when he, you know, cuts off his dominant hand so that he can't try to attack him anymore. But apart from that, the fight's pretty easy going. I mean, when you consider the fact that he probably wasn't supposed to hurt Luke too much because the plan was to get him into the carbonite pit, freeze him, and then take him to the Emperor, he might have gotten a little bit of a reprimand for, you know, damaging the merchandise like that. But overall, I'm pretty sure it was fine. I'm sure he'll be all right. But not when he drops this bombshell. And he's like, I see Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. And then Luke's like, he told me enough. He told me you killed him. And he's like, no, I am your father. And he's like, no, that's impossible. I think the original line, like the one that everybody on set heard, was Obi-Wan killed your father or something like that. But, yeah, Luke being the son of Vader was a huge secret that people didn't get to know until the movie came out, and that was pretty cool. But then Luke falls into a hole, slides down this, like, tube pipe shaft thing, lands on an antenna, and as Lando, who decided to be a good guy because he feels bad about his old friend Han getting frozen, and Leia and everybody else turn around, they come back because Leia had a vision of Luke. She's like, oh, he needs our help. So they go, they get him, they put him to rest. They don't put him down, they just put him, they let him take a little nap. And he has like a forced conversation with Vader. He's like, oh no, you can't be my father, you're the bad guy. And he gets a mechanical hand. Boba Fett leaves with Han Solo's frozen body, and the movie ends pretty much right there. They're looking out at the galaxy. It's like, well, we need a plan to figure out what to do, and I really don't know how that's gonna work. And overall, Star Wars Episode 5 is my absolute favorite because, I mean, I like a movie that ends on a perilous note. You know, the good guys can't win all the time, especially when the odds are stacked so heavily against them. And to make it to where they win all the time would be unrealistic. Luke's character is very strong in this movie. I love that Vader, it feels more like a direct antagonist to Luke Skywalker this time, more so than in the first movie, because I don't even think they met in the first movie. You actually get to see the Emperor for the first time. There's a little bit of, like, more insight as to who Vader was before he was Darth Vader. You get to revel in the, like, bit of a love triangle rather, between Luke, Leia, and Han Solo. I'm sure that won't get turned into anything weird in the next movie. But overall, everything's better. The production design's better. The characters are better. I just love everything about this movie. And it's the first movie to have an actual lightsaber duel. that little stick fight Obi-Wan and Vader had in the first movie, I don't count that as a lightsaber fight. Not at all. And the movie takes place in a bunch of different areas. And it's the only one in the original trilogy that actually does take place in so many different places. Just a bit of a Star Tour, I suppose. But everything this movie has working for it, how could I not call it absolutely spectabulous? Star Wars Episode 5, though. You've seen it. I'm not going to ask you if you have. But is it your favorite Star Wars movie? Actually, what is your favorite Star Wars movie? Whatever that may be, tell me in the comments below, because I would be very interested to see how many subscribers I have to ban because they said The Last Jedi. But until such a thing happens, I'll see you very soon.